walking on the moon. One moment to escape. You're walking on the moon. I've never been. All our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some levels that I've never been. All our trouble seems to fade away. When we dance never been.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Aegis Esports' coverage of the NACL qualifier group stage, where we are taking a visit over to Group D, where Team Fish Taco are going to be taking on Black Rock Esports. Both of these squads heavy on points from the first open qualifier, now looking to see if they can push themselves to the next level and get into that top 4 promotion tournament. My name is Gordo. I'm going to be joined on the cast tonight by TDS. TDS, welcome back to the stream, my man. How are you doing?
Exactly. I was missing this. Yesterday was supposed to be here. I wasn't. Luckily, there was a great cover, so it wasn't like you were missing me or anything like that. But I'm glad that the games yesterday went. Like, not gonna lie, I'm kind of glad that they weren't as exciting as today's match, because I would have been sad if I missed them. But it's going to be great being here for tonight's matchup, especially between two teams that people can kind of see them going really far ahead in the tournament. Particularly TFT, I would say one of the favorites of the tournament, and BlackRock, with the changes in the roster, probably one of the potential dark horses that people are looking out for. But two squads that have a lot to give.
Absolutely here, and a good opportunity as any to talk about these squads. So Team Fish Taco coming in with some roster changes off the back of open qualifier number 1, specifically in the top and jungle. They are bringing in Tony Top and Iconic, as I think he's a Mazo now in the OQ. We'll find out what name he's going by once he gets into the lobby. A man of many names, but altogether, regardless of what you're going to call the jungler, these are going to be coming together as the full squad of Team Tony Top, if you'll remember from spring 2023, where they were able to qualify for the NACL, but unfortunately disbanded before that summer season could start. So now the full 5-member squad from top to bottom, Tony Top, Iconic, Sudsy, Levitate, and Snow 2, are all back together under the Team Fish Taco banner, looking to make their run.
Exactly, and that is one of the most sad what ifs that we've had in a while in terms of NACL, because they were looking really good when they were qualifying for the NACL. They were consistent. Tony Top was looking really great. The bot lane was delivering how they were trying to go for the NACL. So it was a sad occurrence, but now they kind of reunited the group once again. The band comes back together. Maybe this is the run that they can finally materialize into the NACL, being a true thing for most of these players, and I hope that's the case, because one of the biggest sad things I think for me so far in terms of players that have missed out on the NCL is Satsi. He's one of the most consistent mid laners we've had in the tier 3. It feels like consistently outplays a lot of the players, has been multiple times a winner to try and qualify for the NACL, but has had the unlucky factor that he doesn't really get the chance to go to the NACL. So I hope that this time around he actually is able to qualify, because I feel like we're missing out on a player that can have a lot of talent in himself to be able to deliver in the NACL.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's going to be a couple of members still waiting to get onto this lobby, so we will get that figured out as soon as possible. But we are going to be still yapping for at least a little bit longer. But that's no problem, because we can talk about this BlackRock Esports squad. Now, BlackRock had a bit of a tumultuous Open Qualifier 1, starting out hot with a 5-0 run, but now going to end up falling out in that 5th through 8th spot in Open Qualifier number 1, falling a bit short on points of where they would have wanted to be, and then losing Robbie Bob in particular to Lotus, also losing who else did they lose? They lost
was it
Inoribi. They lost
right?
Inoribi to Gentle Hearts. So they also swapped out junglers. So they are going to be coming in on the day with their new roster, still keeping Decoy and Pocus, as we've learned recently. Hawk actually just tweeted this out recently that we've been calling him Pocus for forever. He does say the pronunciation is Pocus. So this will be the first cast match where Pocus gets referred to by his real name. Decoy and Pocus still on the roster, and then filling things out with Hyph in the jungle, Zolt at mid lane, and newcomer Sushi at AD carry. All three of these guys newer to the scene overall, but we've gotten to see a little bit of them already in ACL TDS, and I think Sushi in particular has been really impressive to me. Was playing support for CCG Futures, the development team, last year, now migrated over to AD carry, and has impressed every time I've gotten to see him so far.
Yeah, brings the question forward of what if he actually was an AD carry before and they just put him on support in CCG to try and see how it worked, because it doesn't feel like he made a big transition in terms of roles. He's been playing really great in the AD carry position, has been a consistent factor for BlackRock's success, and like you were mentioning, a team that we've had the chance to see in ACL, and their first match they dominated really heavily. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how they perform. Obviously, there were big changes compared to the first roster in the first OQs to this one, but I think that there is a lot more focus on the developing part of this roster, because there's multiple players that are getting their first taste of what this actually could mean for them. Like you were mentioning Sushi, I think particularly Salthead, he's been around, but I feel like this is one of the first times where we can really see him shine and try and prove himself in a lot of places. I think that this can be a really good opportunity for them to keep on going up and try and perform to the level that maybe a couple of people were expecting for them. Also, I'm kind of glad that both of these teams are technically both in the ACL, so this could be something that we see eventually over there.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And maybe, you know, with how ACL's been going so far, would not be surprised to get to see these guys make some sort of run. BlackRock able to take down Aporia, not the Blue Otter team that you know from this OQ, but pretty close to it, as they do. I mean, not really that close to it. They've only got Lawrence on the top lane in common with the Blue Otter roster, but they've rounded that out with a pretty powerful team in their own right. They definitely look pretty strong in the ACL. They definitely were favored against BlackRock, I would have said, and yet BlackRock came in and were able to take a pretty dominant 2-0 in that matchup. So this is definitely a squad that I've got my eye on. I think they didn't even have Pocus in that matchup. I believe they had Paul in a sub.
D-Star, or I think it was this something, no?
Yeah, I don't know. This is the kind of trivia that you don't want to have to do live on broadcast. I don't remember exactly who subbed in for BlackRock in week 1 ACL 2 weeks ago, but it was somebody. Either way, the team's been able to put up some good numbers. I really liked seeing Zolt. He was playing up against, I believe it was Flocone, if I'm not mistaken, doing pretty well over there. And yeah, Sushi, like I said, was very impressive on the picks we got to see. That format is fearless as well. So they definitely are going to have to show a little bit of those deeper champion pools. And then Hyph, we haven't got to talk about too much either, but Hyph been hovering around the scene for a little while. I believe he's made top 16 before on teams like Miracle and on Mirage and on Apex Mission Impossible. But now coming in as a starter and looking to just kind of make that level up and see just how well he can perform with a full squad that he's actually a starter on, right? Not just coming in as the sub, but bringing them all the way through the open qualifiers to this stage.
Exactly, and that's trying to set himself up in the scene, right? Like trying to get your plays in, not only being more of a standout performer, but trying to be just a consistent performer in a lot of the rosters that are trying to be shown here. And I think jungle-wise, there's a good chance that we may see a bit of a turnaround in a couple of the names, because there's quite a bit of players that are out for now, both in the NACL and in the tier 3. So I think there's actually a good chance that we may see a bit of a revolution in the jungle position if some upcomers end up appearing, like Music, for example, which has been did play in the NACL, but he's a player that right now it's making strides in tier 3, obviously. And the more players that appear like this, the more we may get a chance to see them eventually just performing great. So I'm excited to see how Hype does do, and if he's going to be one of the newer apparitions in the tier 3 scene.
Yeah, and the full Team Fish Taco roster has arrived. The man himself, the question that we needed to answer, Amazo is going to be the name of choice for the jungler of many names. You may remember him as iconic from his time on Golden Guardians. You may remember him as Wallflower from his time on Team Tony Top. You may remember him as, what was his name when he was in Scouting Grounds? He was Zaun when he was in.
That's another trivia question that we shouldn't.
No, I got it. It was Zaun. I know the answer to that one. Regardless of what you know him as, he is here. He is playing as Amazo for the draft number 2. Not quite yet. They dodged. Almost ready for draft. We got a little bit ahead of ourselves there. Client bugged. But the game will be starting very soon.
Yeah, the expectation is that it should start really, really soon, and it should come through. So hopefully nothing weird happens anymore. But like now with the players fully here, it should be a great match to start off. Like we have great expectation for this. Like we mentioned before, this should be a contested matchup. It should go all the way, or at the very least, if it's a 2-0, it shouldn't be an easy 2-0, because both of these teams do have expectations that I feel like they want to try and achieve, and also they don't want to fall down to the lower bracket, right? Because lower bracket in this group is actually quite difficult. Whoever loses this has to go against Lotus, Reluminate, Loser, and those are two teams that did quite well in the Swiss bracket as well.
Yeah, Lotus definitely looking like a very, very dangerous team. Their squad, got a little bit of a bone to pick, perhaps, with BlackRock Esports, as they have got Robbie Bob moved over to that team. Nobody wants to be playing against Robbie Bob with their backs up against the wall in this tournament. And then Reluminate, they have definitely been able to put themselves together a whole bunch of really solid players and have really been coming in with some upsets throughout the open qualifier stage. You know, like you said, TDS, I'm not expecting an easy 2-0 here at all. Team Fish Taco, they've got the names, they've got the pedigree, they've got the history, but it felt like they've been taking a little bit of time to amp up. Don't forget, they finished 4-1, but this is the squad that were seeded first, and or they were not seeded first, but they were seeded very highly, and they did end up dropping matches back during that open qualifier. I think they lost their match to Fly Family in particular, so definitely not unbeatable, and definitely have shown a little bit of weakness in the past.
Exactly. It's not like TFT doesn't have places where they can improve. They have their weaknesses, and they are trying to adapt to those weaknesses. That being said, I think that they are a team that does stack up the longer they play. So the more games they get on their back, the better they become, because of how weekly they change up certain things. So I think that with this sort of Swiss stage or group stage where they can get at the very least 3 games in each match, then they can begin becoming stronger. The important part is that they don't fall down really early, and then they go against a strong opponent, because there is a universe where TFT loses here and then Lotus loses in the next one, and like you're mentioning, having an elimination match against the stronger rated team is not something you want to face so early on in the OQs.
Definitely not, as we've now rounded out the bans here. It's going to be Varus, Vi, Oriana for Team Fish Taco, Ash, Twisted Fate, and Karma for BlackRock. Notably absent is that Yuumi. Team Fish Taco have been busting out the Yuumi when they get the opportunity. I don't think anybody here wants to see it. I feel like we're going to lose half our viewers by me just mentioning that, but it's something you got to be aware of. Team Fish Taco have been willing to bust it out. Snow has no shame He will play the cat if given the opportunity to do so. BlackRock, though, they're going to take their hands on towards those scaling reins first. They lock in the Smolder as their first selection, seeing Team Fish Taco's Azir for Sudsy. They are going to put that faith into Sushi as early as they possibly can and say, we know that this young 80 carry is going to be able to show up for us. And Zolt's going to get his pick of the litter as well with the Hui as a counter pick to the Azir.
And on the other side, it's the Jinx. Nautilus pick up immediately and hyper carry against hyper carry. I'm not against the idea here. Levitate, one of the better positioning 80 carries that we have, so I can see them performing really well with that. I was going to bring up that maybe the Wei ends up being the support instead of having another support, but it's actually going to be the TK to give extra durability or safety for the Smolder. But overall, not a bad idea in general. And it's going to be quite a good idea to try and keep them as safe as possible. I overall like the way that they are trying to draft around this end. Going to be really good for them in general.
Yeah, absolutely here. Tom Kench now going to be the selection for BlackRock to support this Smolder. So going to give that little bit of extra safety to the Baby Dragon. He's already got Flap Flap for the self-peel. They're going to give him that little bit of extra with the Devour. And Snow going to say goodbye to the Yuumi for this game, going for the Jinx Nautilus. This is an old classic Snow Levitate duo that they were playing a whole bunch of last year when it might have been a little bit more of the standard meta, but feeling like this is the spot for the Jinx either way. It's now the focus going to turn towards the jungle. BlackRock looking to take away that Xin Zhao.
I do like the fact that they are picking the Nautilus for Snow, because Snow tends to be the player that you want to give the room to try and go for the engages. So as long as you give him the opportunity to force the plays, there's more chance for success for Taco. So I think that the idea is good here. And if you're able to take away effective early game junglers that can made this Jinx have a really difficult time, I think it can work out really well for Taco. I'm looking at the Jarvan 4 as well here. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at the Jarvan 4 as well here. Probably going to be a good idea to try and keep them as safe as possible. And it takes away from, once again, the threat on the Jinx.
All right, so going to be that really pinched jungle pool plus the addition of the Jax ban. I would certainly be a proponent of banning the Jax up against Tony Top. That's just a personal opinion, but I think that's something you got to keep in mind. Is they're going to take the Poppy. This is actually a flex pick. They could give it over to Hyph. I'm going to anticipate that they're giving it over to Hyph, but if they have to put it on Decoy, Decoy's not going to shy away from that selection. So definitely something that needs to be respected here for Team Fish Taco, and I like that BlackRock are keeping that flex alive coming into the end of their draft. The Sejuani going to be the hover, going to be the lock-in for Amazo. And let's see what they're going to take in the top.
And I like the idea, like you're mentioning, of having that flex potential for the counter pick in top lane. Just because Tony Top does like to have that sort of advantage up there. And if you get the counter pick potential, you can try and pigeonhole him as much as possible, which I think it's a good idea. As we're remaining to see what could go up there, there's the chance for the Aatrox here. Yep, the Aatrox would be the ball champion in the current meta. Maybe Renekton would have been the other choice, but the Aatrox makes quite a bit of sense. And it does give you a bit of balance between trying to have early aggression and then late game carry potential with the Jinx and the Azir. Now remaining here, I feel like you can send the Poppy top lane and take another jungler in the form of the Viego maybe to have a hyper carry, but instead it's going to be the Wukong, so they do opt for the jungle here. Or maybe it's Wukong top lane, who knows?
Yeah, I'm not any more confident than I was before with how they've changed Wukong around in recent patches.
Sure, yeah.
I think it's more likely that it's going to be Hyph on the Wukong and Decoy on the Poppy, but just feels that way based on a matchup standpoint. Although if I recall correctly, when Wukong top was viable and was around, it was considered pretty good into this Aatrox. You do have two different dashes to get yourself out of range of those Darken Blades if you're able to time it correctly, but that's a big ask if you're Decoy up against Tony Top, especially when he's got a dash of his own. If he can keep pace with your Nimbus strike, he can knock you right out of it, and that's just a recipe for disaster if you're the Wukong. I think you might be a little bit more comfortable piloting the Poppy, getting within range, and turning off Umbral Dash as quickly as you can.
Independent of if it's great against the Aatrox, which I'm not sure. I honestly don't remember that time because it's been so long since we've seen an actual Wukong in the top lane. I still think that the idea of the Wukong here is not bad because you do have quite a good team fighting potential here with the Smolder and the Wei. So adding on top of that the Wukong that puts in place both the Jinx and the Asir, which has not very mobile, or to a certain degree not very mobile champions, you can get a lot of team fighting value for BlackRock. And I feel like the idea, it's easier to execute in a lot of ways, and it just enables them so much. It's more on Taco now to try and get or the onus of execution is on Taco. They have to be the ones responsible to how they want to force fight, and they have to play around this Poppy, which it's not going to be an easy task at all with the steadfast presence.
Yeah, no, she's going to be so powerful at being able to deny engage opportunities from pretty much everybody on the side of Team Fish Taco, unless a Meso can come up with a sick Glacial Prison to try to get out of the back line that way. But so much safety, such a good draft. I feel like around this Smolder, so many tools going to be available to prevent Team Fish Taco from being able to get onto Sushi's Smolder. And I think straight up, take off the team names, take off the nameplates. I like this draft on the red side just a little bit more. But going to have to execute on it, of course, because we know how good players like Sudsy can be at finding these deep flank angles, getting the big shuffles back into the team. That's what allowed Mirage Alliance to make so many big comebacks last year and eventually make their qualification in the NACL. That's what allowed Mirage Alliance to make so many of those deep runs in the ACL that you and I have bared witness to, TDS. And I got to give that respect over to Sudsy. I got to give the respect over to the other members of Team Fish Taco as well. They've been able to find angles where they seem difficult, and it's going to be on BlackRock to execute.
We'll say though, in respect to MA, that pretty much is doomed. I'll try not to bring memories of the past at this point. Yeah, that was a great roster though. It's doomed, but it was a great roster. And like you're mentioning, Sudsy has had plays where he can single-handedly put your team back into place. But like you were mentioning, I do like the idea of the red team's composition, and I want to see Sushi on a hyper carry, pretty much. It's not the first time, I feel like, but at the same time, it's not that consistent that we get to see Sushi in these hyper carries. So I want to see how this young prospect ends up performing, because this could be a really great game to not only showcase yourself as a hyper carry as well, but also to set up even more expectation on the BlackRock team. That being said, also, I do want to say that I'm kind of scared of the potential prospect that they end up being pushed. Because one thing that happens when you're playing Wukong is that if your lanes get pushed in and you are getting pushed into your jungle and you don't get time to reach your level 6 really quickly, that can take away from the power of the Wukong. And that's something that maybe the side of Taco wants to play in, because lane-wise, I don't think these are particularly strong lanes that BlackRock Esports have in their favor.
No, I definitely don't think so either. And I think something you've got to just be aware of here as well is how much Team Fish Taco are adept at being able to play these kinds of team fight compositions, right? Is they might be countered out stylistically by stuff like the Poppy. They may have a huge amount of peel available for the Smolder, but that doesn't, that just gives you tools. It doesn't give you the ability to necessarily execute on them. And players like Sudsy and Levitate, they are so adept at being able to play out these team fights from these carry positions. And if they're able to execute better, right, it's not like their late game damage is poor. They can match up against somebody like the Smolder. They can win out on a front to back if they are the better executors, even though composition, pound for pound, you may favor a front to back from a team comp like BlackRock's.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's the discussion of always that it's how much do you give to the draft and how much do you give to the players? Who is going to be performing better based on their champions and who is going to be performing better based on just name value? And that's something that I feel like we could give Taco the benefit of the doubt, because they have champions here that they know how to perform. Particularly to me, just want to point it once again, Sudsy on the series, something that we've seen consistently being able to deliver for the team. And I think that this time around, there's a chance we can actually pull it, or we can actually see him pull it off in this game as well.
Yep, and it does look like we've got a bit of a pause as we get into game. So going to be quite a bit before we get in, actually, because the fact that we created a manual 3-minute delay, hit start, and immediately hit a pause means we've been paused for about 3 minutes now. So it's going to be a little bit of time. Everybody just sit tight. I promise you're not missing any gameplay, but it will be a little bit of time before we're going to be able to get started.
It's pretty much an episode of the Salt Mine without Slayer, so like it's nothing out of the ordinary for us here as we wait for the games to start.
Jackpot.
Yeah, honestly, we can. I'm glad that we've been getting so many chances to actually not only bring the ACL up, but also the Salt Mine in between every game. So like, We have to go with that every time we get it.
Yeah, shout out to Slayer. They're covering a game over on the Salt Mine channel as well. Everybody else covering games as well. I do think this is the most exciting. I'm going to be honest. This is the match I would have picked. We plucked it out because it has two ACL teams in it, and that remains true. But if I were to pick between the four, I think this probably would have been my selection either way. I really like these two squads. I think BlackRock is a team that, they are still competing for it, right? I think a lot of people are going to count them out because of the roster changes, because they're less valuable names, right? They're less, not viable, but they're less known names. They're not top of mind when you think about top players in amateur. But all it takes is being able to come out and win some games. They went 3-2 in the open qualifier. Not too bad of a result, only really dropping to some really tough teams. They dropped to Phoenix 5, which of course they're going to receive some criticism for. They dropped to Lotus as well, and going to be looking to see how long it's going to be until we're able to get into this one. Looks like some sort of IRL issue going to give us a couple of moments until Team Fish Taco are going to be ready to start the game.
It's funny that it's been the jungle all night long, actually. Like, now that we think about it, it's been the jungle so far. So hopefully it doesn't affect in game. It looks like maybe it's going to start really soon, but like you're mentioning, this should be the exciting matchup to keep our eyes on. The only other one that I would put maybe a bit of value in, or not value, but like that I would have loved to see, is Castleberry, just because of Castle, and they are going against CCG. Probably for sentimental reasons, probably would have been my other choice, but this one should have everything to go to the 3 games, and it looks like jungle issue no more.
Yeah, jungle issue no more, but another pause in our near future, so hopefully we're going to be getting that one here before too long, and we'll be able to start on off the game. Do want to take things back on over towards the side of Sushi and Zalt, like these two carries that have been able to, I think, make a little bit of a name for themselves already throughout the open qualifier. I've been really impressed with what they have been able to show us in their abilities to execute both in lane and out of lane. I think Sushi's Ashe game in the ACL, one that really stood out to me. I mean, the Ashe is going to be probably pretty close to permaban throughout a lot of this series. I mean, it is still a pick that people value super, super highly, and was the first ban to come out of the BlackRock side. I mean, Red side just doesn't want that pick to be seen either way. But if it does somehow end up in the hands of BlackRock, I'm excited to see if Sushi gets to pilot it again. I just think was really on point with the arrows, was really familiar with how to play out the laning phase, really good at sneaking in the volleys wherever possible, and had the footwork to be able to dodge out on response plays. It's not usually like a high mechanical champion that you really associate with the top tier 80 carries, but I think the execution on that pick just really stood out to me.
Exactly, and the big part about having an AD carry that can execute as well as Sushi did is not only the fact that you have obviously an AD carry that can perform, but in the current meta, it's the flexibility potential that it brings. And there's teams that have only this support player capable of playing the Ashe to a really good extent, and then when you have an AD carry as well, the flexibility just brings up the champion a tier up. So I think that having that sort of performance that Sushi already displayed is a great sign for BlackRock. But like you were mentioning, because the champion is so strong and usually is B1able in as a blue side pick, it tends to get banned away in the red side more so than in the blue side. And I don't think we're going to get much opportunities to see it, just because when you have the double AD carry or the double marksman down there in the bot lane, plus another damage dealing champion, it just becomes so unbearable to try and deal with. And as a bot laner, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to have to deal with that as many times as possible. That being said, I think Sushi so far has performed so well in multiple champions. I even think he has a Jhin game where they actually were able to win with the Jhin, and you know how much I hate that champion. So actually winning with the champion I hate, I think gives you an extra plus in my eyes.
Yeah, you know we're scraping the bottom of the barrel when TDS is praising Jhin gameplay. So you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. We're already broadcasting on hard mode. I'm going to start to dip in to our in-game analysis before we can actually start the game, because I can see what rune choices have already come on through, and I see that Sudsy is rocking the Grasp of the Undying. So looking like we might get to see a little bit of that tank Azir. We got to watch Robbie Bob pilot it during the actual Swiss stage of this tournament, and now Sudsy going to be piloting the same.
And it's an interesting idea to try and play around with. I don't dislike the tank build. I feel like it does give you quite a lot of value, and this all came with the change, or it's one of the few changes that came with the change of having the what is it called, the on-hit effects on the Azir. So it does enable you quite a bit, and it also gives you more room to be really aggressive with your shuffles, because you can get into the backline safely, or at the very least not get chunked down, and then get on top of certain champions and deal a lot of damage anyway. As we see, there's not going to be any level ones either, because nobody likes to be as aggressive.
Nobody does here, but at the very least, we're into the game, so I'm going to just take champions moving as a sign of victory here either way.
Agree.
Going to be double Doran's shield starts. That interests me out of Tony Top, that he wants to just go in for a little bit of additional safety up against the Poppy, maybe anticipating that he get chunked out by those bucklers and want to watch out for the early ganking power of Hyph. I want to keep close attention to how exactly Amazo is going to path here as well. Not the strongest or not the most melee focused of lanes to be able to really play around for your Sejuani. Even the Aatrox a little bit more of an AD caster in many situations than he is a straight up auto attacker. So not going to have great ways to trigger that Sejuani stun, but she's just such a great all-rounder, frontliner, CC'er, engager at this point that you're willing to pick her in pretty much any composition. Decoy going to pay some attention, make sure that he's well aware of where Amazo is starting. And look at Tony. Look at his selfless play here, actually giving a leash over to Amazo instead of prioritizing that top lane wave.
Tony Top became a team player. I didn't think I would live enough to see Tony Top being the team player that he has become, but it's quite nice to see. But in all honesty, just trying to enable Amazo as much as possible, making it easier for the Sejuani to try and gank certain lanes. And even though Decoy was able to spot them, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that much of an issue to try and go down there to the bot side, which does feel like maybe both junglers want to try and go down there with the way that they're pathing.
Does feel that way. We're going to be a potential path on towards the bottom side for both junglers. Maybe a little bit of an early brawl there. It ends up working out that way. It looks like Snow and Levitate have managed to take control of the wave, though. They get themselves to level 2 first, and Sushi and Pocus living very safely underneath their turret, waiting their turn, wisely so. It's going to be a little while until this little dragon is going to be able to be too competitive with the likes of Snow and Levitate. That Nautilus, the early game CC, the damage that Jinx can bring to the table, especially if she's able to amp up the pow-pow damage, get that extra attack speed. You just don't want to mess around with that right now.
So actually, I feel like there's a great chance to go for this, as we're in kind of a lull state and there doesn't seem to be much action that's going to happen early on. Are you part of the people that believes that Smolder should have been an evolving champion throughout the game? Like, because of his stacking passive, like he becomes bigger the longer the game goes.
I just think he should have looked a little more like a dragon. I'm not really like, I have some criticisms about the visuals. I don't know if they're necessarily that they don't evolve, but look at Sudsy taking a huge trade up against Zalt here, nearly gonna take him down, forces out the flash. And that's the Sudsy special, baby, going aggressive on the early game Azir and forcing tools away from Zalt.
Yeah, that's a preemptive flash if I've ever seen one from Salt, and actually pays off, because if he doesn't flash there, Salty has everything to be able to just flash out on top of the Hui and collect first blood. Aggressive showcase right there by Salty, but importantly, it's a bit of what we were talking about in draft about the lanes, because as we look into each lane, bot lane is controlled by Taco, mid lane is controlled by Taco, and top lane is kind of a 50-50, but feels like it's more controlled by Tony Top. So there's no room for Hive to either look to be aggressive or to try and contest as much as possible, and that's an issue, because as the Wukong, you don't want to be forced into your own jungle consistently.
Definitely do not. Going to be Amazo with a little bit of an early invade up here, though. Dash in from Tony Top, going to actually be able to get the Q3 even though he gets disrupted. So little nice matchup knowledge there. You get the dash interrupted by that steadfast presence, but you still get to land your third Darkened Blade, get that healing, get that damage, and then you don't really care that you're grounded. Just a tiny little interaction to pay a little bit of extra attention to, as both junglers are on this side of the map, so those health bars might end up mattering more than you expect pretty soon.
Oh. And another hook. Snow has been able to connect quite a few of those hooks, and it's going to matter a lot in how this trade end up going, with the extra damage for Levitate opted into the Doran's Blade, so that means that lane-wise you're going to get a bit more damage. I'm also not a big fan of the fact that you're delaying your build by a bit, but it's been working out to try and put pressure onto the Smolder, although credit to Sushi and Pocus, because they've been able to, at the very least, farm really well with all the pressure that both the Nautilus and the Jinx have been able to achieve there.
Absolutely. First Hextech Drake is up. Ooh. Snow fishing for a big one there. If he managed to yank that catfish, get the noodle in, would have potentially been able to take out Pockus, or at the very least force him to take a recall. Not going to be the case this time, though. It's Hyph making his way over to the Grubbies, going to be able to likely pick himself up all three as Amazo's over on the other side of the map. And Teleport's coming back in from the Team Fish Taco solo lanes. BlackRock going to be able to pick that one up without really sacrificing much of anything.
Yeah, honestly, that's a really good move by Hyph. Not having to pretty much be pressured at all after taking the Void Grumps. I swear, I hate the name so much. Void Grumps. And able to take them. Is it Kevin's now?
I don't know. People say Kevin's. People say Eddie's. I still like Eddie's. I like Ed and Eddie as their name.
Ed and Eddie, well, it's actually a good one. Yeah. So I'm going to take that term and use it as much as possible. Taking the Ed and Eddie's without really much contest. And now Mazo actually may find a bit of trouble here because the Wukong is coming. Needs to get this dragon before the Wukong is here.
All right, Amazo brawling with Pockus here. Just going to try to get his way over the wall. Will be able to do so. Fight breaking out over on the other side. Hyph looking to finish him off. Will be able to pick up first blood, but now it's a 3 versus 2 on the bottom side. Pockus going to be the first focus, and there's going to be Levitate managing to take him off of the map. It's a 1-for-1 trade with the Dragon going over to Team Fish Taco.
Yeah, it ends up being a 1-for-1 plus the dragon. When you account for objectives that also went down in the top side, it's technically an overall equal play, but it does matter a bit in the context of the game because it was while they were moving down to the bot side, and with the death of Pockus, but also with Hyph close to being level 6, maybe they can try and look for a play down here. Not enough.
Possibly here. Clears coming on across from Levitate. Dash in from Hyph, but I don't think there's too much of a play to be found here. Levitate going to be able to clear out this wave just fine. Not going to have the opportunity to get any CC on across. Yes, the Cyclone is available, but no really huge issues there at all. Hook coming on in, though, from Pockus, or onto Pockus, rather, is Levitate going to look to chase him down, and has access to the flash. Might just have to use it here. I mean, Levitate powing away, has the extra range. Snow going to claim the kill. Now Sushi is vulnerable. Sushi's got a flash out as well. Snow and Levitate haven't played together 3 splits in a row now, still got it.
Yeah, exactly, and just like that, 2v2 advantage for both the Snow and Levitate. They get the kill on Pockus. It doesn't go to the Jinx, but you still get the kill, and crucially, you also blow Sushi's flash. So now in a future play, when Snow is level 6, you can follow up on top of the little dragon, maybe force a kill. Super Mega Death Rocket is active here. Maybe Levitate could look for it.
Very possibly could. Doesn't look like they're going to force anything for now, but wow, this bot lane now truly one-sided. Already a plate down, a 25 CS lead, make it 30 over to Levitate. It's just crazy right now. Sushi going to be out of things for quite a while here, or they're going to need Hyph to be able to get down here and change their fate, because it is starting to become a big problem for BlackRock if Team Fish Taco are able to have such a sizable lead in this lane, and this Jinx is just going to be so strong in mid-game fights. Pockus hooked again. Make it Pockus. I keep forgetting the name here. It's not even a change, but there's the hook back in from Sudsy, pushing Salt in towards Amazo, and Amazo going to claim one for himself as well. That's going to be 3 kills over to Team Fish Taco.
3 really good kills, as we see Tony Top even pushing out the ultimate, but dissuaded from any action thanks to the Poppy shaking her hammer as much as possible. That being said, in the mid lane, another kill, and Sudsy able to not collect one, but be
Oh, full engage on the bottom side. It's all the focus on to Sushi. He's got the Ignite ticking, but he's flapped out of the way. Still staying alive. Snow gonna get returned on by Hyph. Levitate trying to rain through the damage, but he's only got the Berserker Greaves. Still amping up that damage with the lethal tempo. There's gonna be the first kill coming on across in exchange for a double kill to Hyph. And Zult is arriving to the play, but it's just a little bit too late. Gonna be a 1-for-2 in favor of BlackRock. Levitate will get the double buffs, will get another kill, and even taking some plates while he's at it, though.
Light misplay there by Levitate, throwing the Super Mega Death Rocket all over the place, but does end up collecting the kill, which is not the worst part. Importantly though, 2 kills for the Wukong. Becoming an important champion to keep our eyes out. Hyph actually going to have quite a lot of value if he's able to keep on stacking one more of this. And Sushi didn't die, which at this point I feel like that has to be some sort of advantage in a way.
Yeah, I mean, keeping Sushi alive, it's definitely better than nothing, but Sushi going to look to get a little bit more than just alive. He wants to claim some lives. We're going to focus on towards Snow, but this damage is not it, TDS. It is getting rained on by this AD carry for multiple seconds here, getting the full stack up, but it just doesn't matter. He just walks away, half HP.
We cannot blame Sushi for dealing the damage of a baby dragon. He has to become a grown dragon before he actually can do anything.
Yeah, and not there yet.
That's a lot.
You gotta focus on minions for now. Like, how is Sushi not just able to pick up this mid wave here? I don't know. It feels like they need to start funneling this little guy as soon as they can, because hanging out in these 2-on-2s, it's just not been going their way. Wave crashing in bottom, dying to tower. They're going to focus on towards Levitate instead. Levitate will flash out to safety. Finally going to be some farming time for the little guy.
Respect flash there by Levitate, but taking the right approach, because if not, that could have been a shutdown for anyone there, and if it goes to Sushi, that could be salvaging for the side of BlackRock. So really good decision making, and now the re-engage.
Yeah, Snow just wants to keep these fights going, managing to land that ultimate on towards Sushi. Instead, the focus is going to be onto Pockets. Levitate wants the support for himself. One more zap, going to get flashed away from, but the super mega death rocket finds its mark. Teleport in from Zalt. Levitate decides he's already got a bail on this one. Doesn't want to have to fight the 1 versus 2, and Snow is down for the count. But an engage found in towards the river, forcing Hype to flash back over the wall, but Amazo's not done yet. Amazo going to chase him, forcing that dash over the wall to be able to get out the safety, and Salt's there to back him up.
Yeah, that's a quick flash follow-up there by Mazo. They don't collect the kill onto Hive, but they do get another one for Levitate. And yes, Snow ends up dying, but I love the way that he played that, because he sacrificed his life for the greater good, which is keep Levitate alive. That shutdown is precious at this point, and you don't want to give it out just because. But Dragon actually getting contested. Woobok is nowhere near close, though.
Oh, getting collapsed on a little caster curse here. TDS got to throw down the chopper, and will connect on a Pocus.
Levitate too good.
Getting rained down on by Levitate, and this 2-on-2 has been favoring Team Fish Taco all day. Tony starting the fight up on the top side, but let's focus back in towards Pocus. Sushi will go down. Sudsy finds his mark and will take him down. Amazo coming in on the other side to clean up another one. It's 3 kills over to Team Fish Taco and a 3K gold lead to match.
Yeah, and see, I didn't cast your curse, no, on Gordo. I knew that Levitate was going to be perfectly fine if that play ends up collecting another kill for 0-1. They get the second dragon of the game as well, plus a couple more kills. Everything is just going Taco's way, and even though we pan to the top lane, nobody died up there. Tony Top is still getting plates by himself. Everything is working out for the Taco team.
Yeah, just forcing Decoy out in the matchup, getting yourself some plates, keeping things even. That's all that's really needed. Less than 10 gold separating Decoy and Tony Top in this matchup. So, yeah, props to Decoy up against Tony on one of his best champions, holding things very, very even here. But it's just the rest of the map is not going BlackRock's way.
Yeah, that's a moment when you know as a top laner that everything has been pretty much for nothing, because you've been doing really good up there, but since it's an island, it doesn't really matter, because then you pan bot side and the Jinx is 4-0.
Yeah, rough position to be in, especially when you aren't in a position to be able to take her out yourself. A lot of that's going to be on Hype. Snow taking a fair bit of poke here. Dushi getting called over as well, but nobody's in the bottom lane where Sudsy is continuing to poke, and it feels like BlackRock maybe just getting a little too aggressive here, constantly sending multiple members, constantly trying to get Sushi involved in kills, and they're losing out on a lot of CS for it.
And the weird thing is that we talked a bit about this, right? The fact that their composition was more based on skilling. Oh, wait.
Going to get the slow. There's going to be the chopper slowing him up once again. Snow coming in on the river to try to buy some additional space. Hype is the big threat, and Hype is going to get knocked up by the death charge. There's going to be the Devourer out of pockets, trying to send Hype back in for another round. At the very least, knocking up Snow, but Snow is not the target you need. Levitate is who you got to be worried about, as Levitate's already found his first of the fight, and now he's excited to get the second. It's 2 more into Levitate's pockets. You want to catch the Jinx, but you're just making her stronger.
It's just getting worse and worse. Gordo, 2 more kills for the Jinx, 6-0, and maybe even 1 more. Okay, no, Sushi's fine here, but maybe not for that long, as he's forced to try and escape more. Oh, Salt.
Oh, Sudsy finding his engage once again. Spiraling Despair will connect, but I just don't think you can actually take this fight without a completed item. Amazo's here to make a fair fight unfair, and Zalt is going to hide out in that alcove as long as he can, but he's just buying time. He's going down here.
Yeah, Sudsy's not even going for the kill. He takes down the turret and waiting to see what happens, pretty much. Yeah, now he's dead.
I mean, there's nowhere for Zalt to go. He's just delaying the inevitable here. Will lose his tower. Sudsy looking like he doesn't even care about the fight. Just wants to clean up whatever he can get.
The weirdest part so far is that even though there's not that big of a CS deficit, it's 40, but it's not as big as the bot lane. It's still 2 levels for Satsi over Salt. And Satsi has been able to impact pretty much everywhere in the map. That's something that you have to take into account when looking at the difference here, as teleport coming in by Salt, but there's no chance Satsi ends up dying. It's just such a consistent game by Satsi, and that's the player we're hyping up with this here, and so far it's delivering so well.
Yeah, and you know, this team's namesake maybe used to be Team Tony Top, but now in the Team Fish Taco era, it is so much more about the other carries on the map. He's chilling at 0-0-0. Maybe get a little bit of gold lead just from those turrets coming across globally, but this game has been all about Sudsy and Levitate, especially Levitate, who's now already on 2 items. An attempted engage on Tony Top, trying to break that 0-0-0 score line. Not going to work out, though. Sudsy TP's up and stops the play.
This has to be the least impactful top lane game I think I've seen in a while, where both the laners have done good, but it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you both do good, it's kind of just net even. Oh, Snow is mega caught, though. Focus going to be able to guarantee that kill for the team. Lands an Abyssal Dive, gets a little something back, and that kill goes in his ult's pocket.
When will it be time for Sushi to actually collect one of these kills? 5 assists, which is great and all, but you need to get more value onto this Smolder, since the Jinx currently has 1 item, full item, over the Smolder. It's a Hurricane over nothing on Sushi, and that's a bit scary.
Yeah, it's real dangerous, especially when you're going to be brawling for Soul Point here in just a couple of seconds.
I don't think they can contest.
I wouldn't. Seems like a bad idea, but we'll see just how much pressure BlackRock feels to not let them get into that comfortable position. They're going to go for the collapse of the bottom side of Mazzo. So deep behind enemy lines, will find Zol. It will be the Spiraling Despair connecting onto Levitate. Levitate will lose half his HP, but that's the best you could hope for. Wait, Hype is giving him the slip. Hype is just hanging out in the bot lane bush. He's going to get the recall.
Yeah, he actually is able to escape, which is a great thing for the side of BlackRock. That would have been disaster if both of them died. And in the meanwhile, they were doing a bit of damage onto the mid lane. They don't get the turret, but they find some sort of value after it was looking kind of grim with everyone moving down there to the bot side. That being said, it's Soul Point like you were mentioning, and I'm not sure if they are going to even be able to contest the next Dragon with the difference in 80 carries.
No, I mean, it's going to be really tough. At the very least, it's not the most powerful soul in the world with the Chemetech soul, but it's not like it's nothing either, especially when you're on this tankier Azir build that Sudsy's going for. You got a little bit more health to work with. You got a little bit more time alive with a lower health bar. In theory, Amezo going to whiff the Glacial Prison. Zol manages to absorb that.
And they are going to try and keep on looking for something here. Like, it just feels so weird to be in this spot as BlackRock, because I do think they have champions that if they wait long enough, they can try and play the game. The problem is that long enough becomes longer and longer for every death that they give up. Every death or individual death that they give up turns into not 1 minute, like 3 more minutes that they have to wait to actually be able to play the game. That's not something easy to just try and hold on for.
Yeah, and Team Fish Taco's aware of that, right? They're not going to give them that long. They're going to continue to amp up the pace of the game. Perhaps almost inadvisably so sometimes, right? I mean, they've given away some kills just trying to take away bird camps and stuff, but more often than not, they're the ones coming out on top of the plays. They go back and forth. And now they have some very wealthy carries to play on through. Nearly a 4K gold lead in the pocket of Levitate. Sudsy pretty strong in his own right with his second item completed. That's going to be that Frozen Heart, making it so that Zolt's the only one with any hope of really taking him down. Snow caught once again. Forward. They really want this Nautilus, and they'll give it over to Sushi.
Finally one on the board for Sushi. They find the Nautilus. And it's been working out so well for them. Yes, it's not the biggest amount of gold you can get because it's not the Jinx, it's not the Azir, but it's something to work on, and Sushi needs to keep on getting the sort of things in his favor. Stack-wise, he's doing kind of okay. Farm-wise, he's not doing that great. Kill-wise, not doing that great either. But he hasn't died that much, which is a big important part with how the game has been going so far.
Definitely something to look back on and call a victory. but definitely need to get a little bit extra on the side of BlackRock if you're going to be able to come away with this. The Baron already getting started. I mean, Team Fish Taco, they'll take any objective the moment that they see it because they just want to fight while they're at this big of a gold lead. Over the wall comes Amazo, looking for Sushi. Glacial Prison going to connect. Tony going to lead the charge. Ice now coming on in, trying to cyclone across the team, but he doesn't have the cooldown. Pocus going to have to devour him up and spit him back out just to save his life as Decoy punts them out with the Keeper's verdict. It's 0 deaths on either side, and the Baron is stopped. BlackRock say mission accomplished.
Nobody dies, and Baron doesn't even die either. Like you're mentioning, that's already a slight victory for BlackRock, and they are not even allowing for the lanes to be pushed as heavily, so they are controlling the pace of the game in a manner that maybe buys them enough time. Like we were saying before, if one death happens on them, that's going to take away from the time that they have to try and scale into the game. But with the pick that they got before, and the fact that they are able to delay this Baron take and another death as much as possible, that's making the time be worth for them. And Sushi is closing in on the second item, which is huge for them.
Let's do a Smolder stacks check. How trained is this dragon? 172. You need 50 more stacks for that 225 break point. I don't think you can get that 90 seconds TDS. I think they're going to be forced to have to deal with Soul, or they're going to have to challenge Soul without access to the fully stacked dragon.
It depends on what they get or what they are able to try and challenge or what they think of the Soul, right? Because it is Chemtech Soul. And it is still one of the least valuable souls in the game, as Pocus maybe picked up here.
Yeah, Pocus about to disappear here as there's 4 members getting damage onto him. The counter engage coming on across. Mom reigns through the team, gets a Mazo to about half HP, but that's the best they can hope for. And this 4 versus 5 BlackRock squad, they're going to have to back off of the play without their catfish for quite a bit longer. The Baron going to be started up. How do you feel about your odds of contesting this with only 4 members?
It's all on what they find here as Satsi gets a bit poked out. Oh, wait.
Ooh, shuffle, not going to connect onto Sushi. Sutsi may have bitten off more than he can chew here. Takes a fair chunk of damage, but Mom's not going to be there to finish it off. Hype uses the Cyclone. I don't think he meant to do that. There's nobody near him. That was the second charge, I think, so not going to be able to find the fight. They're going to break it out on the other side. Decoy buying space with the steadfast presence. The rejoin of Pocus going to be enough to push Team Fish Taco back.
Yeah, they still hold on for Baron, and the Dragon is looking like the prize now, because with members having to back off like Satsi and Tony Top, they have space to move into the Dragon, and Snow walking a bit forward, not going to be picked up, but that is complete control of the Dragon Pit and probably the Dragon dying here.
BlackRock making a nice little macro move here. They stopped the Baron. Now they're moving on towards the Dragon, trying to deny this goal. Mom coming on across the build space. No spike comes through for Amazo. Hype's going to be able to secure it for the team. It might be at the cost of his life, but this is so worth. What a great call by BlackRock.
Is it though? Because with Hype dead, that's Baron, no?
It should be, but I mean, what are your odds of contesting Baron anyway? Baron is temporary. Dragon Soul's forever.
Yeah, but this isn't Dragon Soul. So, well, actually, it was for the side of Team Fish Taco. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see how much the value of the Baron comes into play. But they are melting this objective super quickly. There's no smite to take away. No chance. I mean, they needed a miracle from the Hui there. Oh, look at Satsi.
Tony Top looking for something. Sudsi's on the flank, looking for Sushi. This is going to connect with the depth charge, but look at Decoy interrupting Sudsi and preventing the shuffle. Now Decoy gonna get devoured up, brought back to safety by the team, and they will deny any further kills from going to Team Fish Taco.
Decoy maybe 0-0-0, but he's been doing great, and oh, Satsi.
Sutsi gonna get caught here. That's the full combo of the team. He has no flash. He has no chance. That's shut down gold to Sushi's Smolder, and will surely be at the 225 stack threshold by the next Dragon fight. That's a Baron off the board. BlackRock Esports, they're fulfilling their win conditions. It's just way too late. Stuff is still real shady for them.
Yeah, it's still kind of scary, but I don't want to say way too late now, Gordo, because now the play of the Dragon is actually worthy. It was a bounty. They take off one Baron buff off the map. Probably one of the strongest players to try and push into certain turrets. Then you also get the stacks onto Sushi. He gets the shutdown as well, so now he's one item closer to the Jinx. This is actually working out quite greatly for BlackRock, and I can see them delivering on this assault. Wait.
Amazo looking for the solo bolo here, perhaps keeping Salt very low. Ooh, that was a good call with the Super Mega Death Rocket. Levitate nearly finding home. Not going to do it that time, but that could have been a huge play for Team Fish Taco. So they're going to keep their push going on the top side. They still have Baron for a little bit longer.
Still have Baron. Amazo is quite low, so they probably are not going to push farther than this turret. They are more than likely going to try and get the tier 2 in the mid lane as well, but the Baron buff is not going to break the base, and I think for the side of BlackRock, this is a victory. They didn't lose as many things as I thought they probably would lose with the Baron buff. So that's already really good for them. Stacks 215, so Sushi doing a really good job. Hasn't gotten any more items, and the Jinx just completed the IE. But I think at the very least, for the little dragon, you're finding a bit more hope.
Yeah, definitely. And we're maybe behind pace of where you want to be as the Smolder,
Yep.
but throw those kind of metrics out the window right now. You just are looking to be relevant and be powerful for these upcoming fights. And I think Sushi getting very close to that threshold. 5 more to go. We will keep our eyes on that one, but you'll hit it mid-fight at this point, just through circumstantially hitting skills. Throw Mom across the team. You'll get a couple stacks that way as she connects on multiple targets, and then you will have the buff.
Yeah, Baron buff already down here, so that means that clearing the waves is going to be a bit easier because they don't have it on Satsi as the last push remaining coming here by Tony Top with the Baron buff. They do have Dragon in 130. At that point, like you're mentioning, Sushi is going to have these stacks fully completed. I still think Tony Top has the advantage because of Levitate's existence, but I don't know. BlackRock is making me a bit of a believer the longer the game goes. Just a tiny bit. Not enough to actually be dissuaded just yet because of Levitate.
They've definitely started to look a little bit better lately as the Baron falls off. Here comes Mom across the rest of the team. Damage coming out of Lamazno, but it's coming out of Pocus way faster. They will be able to stop the fight now as the threat of Decoy punting out half the team makes Team Fish Taco back away, but they get the 1 for 0 once again.
Yeah, it's a kill, but it's not a kill that turns into anything meaningful when you look at it, what they are getting. They get the Temp Kent, which has died 6 times before that death, so he was already kind of useless to a certain degree in terms of deaths. And then they don't break the base, they don't get any big objective. I don't think for BlackRock it's that bad. The difference in gold, it's bad because the Jinx is 5,000 gold ahead of the Smolder. But apart from that, I can still see the side of BlackRock being able to try and contest. And if Dragon is not an objective that it's fully controlled by the side of Tony Top, or at the very least they don't deny entrance to the Dragon, then this is doable for BlackRock. I still believe in Levitate Jinx though.
Levitate Jinx is still that big win con hovering over their heads, but Sushi now at 3 items, fully trained,
Decoy
would be so strong in this upcoming fight. Decoy getting a little bit caught up here, but he's plenty tanky. Poppy passive is not weak, will keep him at about half HP, and will be able to force on out those 2 members. Levitate caught on the other side, the hook coming on in, devour up from Pocus, but Hype dives in for a second attempt. Levitate gonna be able to take him down and go legendary, but he's forced out of the fight, so it's a 4 versus 4 on the other side. Sunsy keeping the damage down on a Focus, gonna be able to take him out, and it's Tony on the backside, crushing Sushi on the baby dragon, guaranteeing a fight win for Team Fish Taco. They're gonna take it as a 5 for 0 ace.
They find the 5 for 0, but I gotta give respect to Hive. That is the play you need to pull off if you want to win this game. Finding the Jinx, Levitate by himself and trying to burst her out. Not enough damage, not lethality. Wukong completely team utility based. Wukong almost gets the kill, but Levitate plays that off really, really well. And Snow also reacting on time to salvage the Jinx. After that, it's just a normal rundown. Huge game by Taco, but props to BlackRock because they didn't just die like most teams would probably have done after the Jinx started 4-0.
Yeah, so much work to be able to restabilize, to be able to give yourself a fighting chance, but all of the power that Team Fish Taco accumulated over the first 20 minutes of the game, it just became too much for BlackRock to be able to handle. They take a firm ace in game number 1, and they are going to close it out with just that fight. Great job by Team Tony Top, or Team Fish Taco, Team Fish Tony Top, Team Taco Tony Fish Top, and they are going to come on out with the win.
Exactly. We can actually name them Taco Tony Top, and it's still TTT.
True, but it's TFT now. Is there
true. Oh
so
wait, actually, yeah.
we can't go with that one. We'll figure it out. We'll workshop it.
Taco Fish Tony or Tony Fish Taco. Yeah, that actually works.
Tony Fish Taco works for sure. We'll keep messing with stuff. We'll see. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
come up with something genius while we're on break.
We
are
try
going to
some.
take a quick break here while we get into lobby for game number 2. Hopefully, will not be nearly as long of a delay as it was for game number 1. But sit tight. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes. I told you it wouldn't be as long as it was in game number 1. We are ready to go with the draft for game number 2. If you saw it in Twitch chat, BlackRock have selected the blue side for game number 2. So I'm going to get their opportunity at the first pick of the draft.
Exactly. They are going to try and change stuff, but crucially, it's not only them changing sides, it's them getting the chance to play champions that Taco will not be able to play at all. So we are going to get a good chance to see variations in general. And I'm kind of curious with the Asir here, because Asir, Salty played great. He had a few hiccups, but the Asir can be a great difference maker in the game. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how much of that are we going to get the chance to see, as some of the bans already running through.
Yeah, keeping our eyes on how these bans change. Interesting to see BlackRock banning out the Hui. I guess they don't have the ability to select the champion anymore,
Yep.
so wanting to guarantee that it won't be going on over to Sudsy, and they do know that he won't be able to play his Azir either. We're going to keep that Twisted Fate ban, and this does mean BlackRock are going to have to let through one of Karma or Ashe, which they banned away in game number 1. Now let's see if Team Fish Taco want to keep up their bans identical to what they showed in the previous game. They do keep that Varus.
I'm guessing they probably are feeling that TFT has to ban the Ashe themselves, being on the red side, so that's why they are not going to approach the Ashe ban this time around, and they are going to try and opt into taking something else themselves. Maybe they ban away the Smolder, thinking that Levitate wants to try and take that, if not first pick, which could be an interesting option, but instead they are banning away the Ashe, like you were mentioning, so they don't want to play against that at all. They probably have another priority then.
They're showing, like, I think they want the Karma. That would be my guess here. Either that, or it could be the Senna as well. I mean, I know a lot of people like the Senna. Would be relegating Sushi to Senna duty,
Or
which you know, hurts my heart just a little bit, but they feel like it's their best opportunity. The other thing is they can't pair it with the Tahm Kench. That's an Anivia ban coming on across, so maybe some respect towards Zolt's Anivia. Maybe just not really knowing what they want to round out their bans with. Who's to say? But there's that Karma that will be locked in for BlackRock.
Taking away the Karma here. You were mentioning about the champion and ends up delivering here with the pick. The Karma has the great value of the flexibility potential, and you can send it to multiple positions. I think enables the team in a good manner, but it's also a champion that I feel like has fallen down in terms of the first pickable priority. I don't think it's first pickable enough like she was before, but it's still a valuable enough champion, and I respect BlackRock for going for it. As the Orianna picked here, and surprised to not see the Smolder. Obviously, they know that BlackRock cannot take it themselves, but surprised to not see the Smolder being a potential option for them. Maybe they want to have some sort of priority for other champions, potentially for the jungle, if they think that there's something valuable. Considering the previous game, there was a huge pinch into the jungle pool.
Yeah, for sure. And they're going to take the Lucian as well. They have their selection between the Nami and the Melio, confident that those won't get snagged away from them. The double enchanter compositions, not really the most popular options these days. So I think they're going to get their pick of the litter on which of the two they want to pilot. More likely the Melio. I would want to see the Melio more out of Snow.
I think the Melio is better.
I agree. But I've seen people opt for the Nami here, so I'm not gonna prejudge Snow's priorities. Zolt going to snag the Azir for himself, even though Sushi, or even though Sudsy can't pick it for himself. That is probably going to relegate that Karma to support for Pocus. He's going to be happy to be on something maybe a little heavier ranged after how he was bullied on the Tahm Kench in game number 1. And they're going to take the Ezreal alongside it for the safest bot lane imaginable.
I like the fact that they are giving Sushi the Ezreal, gives a lot of self-building potential, also enables them to try and play out certain laning situations really well, and instead Taco opting for the Nami, so kind of an interesting choice, not because it's bad, but I do think the Melio probably would have benefited them more in terms of for a later teamfight potential. That being said, I think this is more laning oriented, since I do think Melio probably falls short compared to the Karma early on, and the Nami does have some sort of trading patterns that ends up helping them quite a bit. But with the second round of bans, I'm expecting to see full pinching of the jungle pool like we're seeing so far.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with it being a choice because you expect the Karma matchup here, especially because when you don't have like an engage support like a Nautilus, you don't really have anything that you want to cleanse from the Karma either. So there is going to be some hard engage CC. It's going to have to come out of the jungle for BlackRock, and they're looking to ban away some of those most reliable early game options as well. That Xin Zhao and that Jarvan going to bite it for Team Fish Taco. BlackRock going to take away that Nocturne Orianna duo, and they are going to continue to deny Tony his Jax. But I don't think they're going to be able to deny him last pick I think this is almost certainly going to be a pick. And oh my goodness, Amazo is giving us the Belveth.
That is a blind Belveth. That's confident, if I gotta say something
Great
here.
Belveth player, man. I get it. I dig it. I'm into it.
I understand. Okay, fair enough. I do think that it's a bit risky just by virtue of it being blind, but I like the idea. Maybe BlackRock opts into the Kindred here, something to try and have the range, but it can be a little bit risky. They could go for something tankier, like the Sejuani, which would at the very least have that front lane to divide Taco's attempt at killing the backline with something that just stands in front of them. And honestly, it wouldn't be against having the Poppy once again here. Even though there's the counter potential for Tony Top, I think the Poppy top lane wasn't a big issue, and Decoy played it really, really well.
Definitely agree. That Sejuani going to be the selection in the jungle. And there's the Nautilus. They're flexing the Karma. They're taking her top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a chance for that.
It's interesting. I want to see what Tony can cook up here then. What is your counter pick to the Karma top now that it is face up for BlackRock? I don't think you have to give any heed to the potential of a Nautilus top, so you are 100% certain you're going to be up against the Karma here.
Well,
what do you select?
You say certain, but I think you can play, actually, it's Smolder top lane. So yeah, they are actually taking the Smolder tank top lane. The thing is, I think you can play a Seer tank top lane as well, instead of the Karma. You just handshake mid lane with the Karma Orianna and then send the Seer top lane to respond to the Smolder.
That's a spicy
That could be the choice by BlackRock.
We got some Xiaohu shenanigans here as well. I mean, you could go Orianna top, you can take a page out of the old RNG mid top lane book, see if that's going to be the option. Wow, there is a lot to discuss here, and thank goodness we're going to get to know who's going where before we get into our 3-minute delay. So we at the very least have that to talk about. But yeah, some really spicy mid-top lane, maybe even support getting involved there, although pretty unlikely. Flip-flops coming out across from both of these teams, and maybe a little bit of a mind game going on there too if you can't be 100% certain who's going to go where.
Yeah, I like the fact, though, that with the Nautilus pick, I do think the Ezreal Karma lane is much better. But the way that the matchups end up going gives a bit more of the aggressiveness to try and play around the Lucian Nami. Because if it was the Milio, then pushing away the Nautilus is much easier, right? But with the fact that they are able to take away the Nami and play the Nautilus into it, you can actually force some of these engages a little bit easier. And then Sushi playing Ezreal means that you can just leave Sushi down there by himself and allow Pokus to move around the rest of the map. That may be the play that they want to try and pull off with the sort of decision making. But overall, like you're mentioning, I like the mind games in some of the aspects of this draft, and we're have to wait and see how it develops, but overall I like the ideas that we see.
We are in game now, waiting on our manual 3-minute spec delay for competitive integrity. So we can at least tell you it's Karma top for Decoy, mid Azir for Zolt, Smolder top for Tony top, Orianna mid for Sudsy. So probably what your first instincts would have been, that traditional control mage matchup, and then the spiciness is going to come from the scaling Smolder in the top lane. So this is going to be real fun.
Tank.
True.
It's going to be interesting seeing how it performs. And Tony Top, I feel like I associate Tony Top much more with any brother up there in the top lane. So seeing him play this sort of rangy top laner that has to play with the pill really well, it's going to be an interesting experience. I don't think I've seen much Tony Top performance from any of these champions.
Well, and here's your other question, right? Like, how do you start fights as this Team Tony Top team? I mean, you got some good peel back, I'll give you that much, but you need a Mazo to go in and land above and below. That's like the only way you can start fights. And if, you know, they're slowing you down, they're hitting you with karma cues, I mean, how do you ever get onto Ezreal with this comp?
So they have to be the first in the spot, it feels like, because like you're mentioning, there's no clear engage for them. So they have to make them come into you. And to force that sort of play, you have to be the first to the position of the dragon, of the baron, of any objective you're willing to fight. It's not going to be easy, but they do have champions that can win priority really well, thanks to their pushing power and also how they force some of their engages or some of their plays. So I can see that being the main way for Tony Top. But if it falls into a game where they have absolutely no control and they cannot get priority when moving into certain objectives first, then Focus and Hyper have free range to try and just engage. Because also technically there's no true tank. There's nobody that wants to tank on the side of Taco. So it can be a bit risky in that situation or in that regard.
Absolutely. So we are just a couple of seconds away from being able to get into game number 2. Smolder selected for Tony Top. I put out the tweet. I'm calling reinforcements here. Anybody who wants to see a top lane Smolder, get on in here before the match is going to get started.
Yeah, ignore everything
An
else.
interesting one. I do feel like there's got to be a little bit of ego in that selection as well, right? Like, as you said,
I can see
TDS,
it.
you need to be the first ones to the objective. And all of game number 1, Team Fish Taco were the first ones to the objective. They were doing a great job, especially in early to mid game, of pulling BlackRock all around the map. BlackRock were late to those rotations. They lost a lot of CS to the towers. They kept trying to send odd-numbered plays to be able to get a numbers advantage and make a gank happen, and it was Levitate, and it was Sudsy, and it was Tony constantly able to disengage and avoid going down in those situations.
And that's also the thing. If you have a game where Levitate and Snow are just like 5-0 to start it off, then having no engage doesn't really matter because they are just going to blow you off. It's really difficult to go against it. So I think that can be something that they can try and attempt for, as we see a 5-man invade here. Sudsy unsuspecting, same for Amazo.
Unsuspecting indeed. Going to be
respectful.
Looking around, seeing if they can catch a Manta Ray wandering maybe somewhere where she shouldn't be. Ooh. Max distance. Sudsy knows that he's not going to get hit by that hook. Oh, Mazo maybe going to get a cheeky little auto attack there, but needs to use the dashes to keep their distance. Comfortably aware of the fact that not going to have any too aggressive angles here at level 1. Oh, and Tony getting a free dragon training stack there.
Already winning the lane pretty much with that first initial stack on Tony Top. How much does that stack for actually? I think it's 2. Is it 2 or 3?
1. I think you get 1.
Or is it just 1?
I think you just get 1 for hitting an opponent with an ability. I could be wrong.
I thought it was going to be. I thought it was similar to Veigar with how it worked.
Click on Tony quick before he gets a last hit. Check out. See how many dragon trading stacks he has.
Reduction diff.
Yeah. All right. PVS has got a lot to deal with right now. He's got a lot on his plate. We're not gonna roast him too hard here. But
yeah, no. We always blame Flay. We never blame PVS. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, Flay. Why don't you tell us how many dragon training stacks you get from landing in a Chew at level 1? I think it's 1.
I'm so glad I don't have to mention the name of the abilities as many times as you have, because it feels weird having to mention a
I'm sorry, Smolder fans, but these ability names are terrible. No more onomatopoeia in ability names. How about that? How's that for a request to Riot Games? I know my requests differ a lot from the community at large, but can I at least have that?
So, because we had the not the discussion, but the talk about the Hui abilities, how you have to learn like 10 because
yeah, but at least they're like real abilities. I prefer Hui to Smolder. Oh, Sudsy getting ganked here, not even gonna use the flash. Buzz expended at the last moment. Can he get out in time? One more auto from Salt will not be enough. Sudsy playing at the absolute edge, saves his flash and stays alive.
And that's why you always pop your pots. Sudsy surviving by the skin of his teeth, and crucially blows 2 flashes actually in that play. So that means that now he can teleport back, and it's not going to be a big deficit for him, as trading in top lane going much better for Decoy.
Definitely. And wow, what a great trade there from Decoy up on the top lane, keeping Tony at a very low HP total. He's gonna have to take the recall here and a TP on back as the wave crashes in. This is a great position to be in as the Karma top. And you know, we've been talking for years about what a nightmare Karma top lane is. It looks like Smolder, not the be-all end-all answer here. He'll scale pretty well, but he is definitely suffering in this early laning phase.
100%. And I just want to mention, I don't know what is if you play Dota or if you've seen Dota, Gordo, but I feel like this has to be the equivalent to walking to lane after teleporting in and dying. Like, it's just having the pot after and having to teleport at 3 minutes in. It has to be the worst feeling ever.
Does definitely have to be. Ooh, a little bit of a trade coming on through here. Snagged away by Amazo. Hyph going to get escorted to safety by Zalt, but good steal there from the Team Fish Taco jungler. Just trying to get as many lavender stacks as you can in the early game, and that's going to be a couple extra in the bank.
Yeah, that's double Scutter Crab for Amazo already, plus the fact that he's ahead as the farming buff. Oh, Pocus? It's a good trade.
Pull in onto Levitate, taken to about half HP. Will be able to stay alive. Snow taking a fair bit of damage as well. You are not as tanky you may have once been, my friend. Going to have to treat that with a little bit of respect.
Yeah, this really has been a much better early game coming in from the side of BlackRock, having a bit more controlling the lanes, forcing early flashes from Sotsi, and also forcing really good trades in the top lane onto Tony Top. So overall, really like how they've been playing this game. Decoy is doing such a good job at making it a difference maker.
Absolutely agree here. I think Decoy's been doing a really solid job in this top lane so far. Ooh, Hook coming in from Pocus. Going to punish Levitate. The Ignite is expended, and Snow going low as well. Hyph is here, but Hyph has yet to be able to find an angle into the fight. That changed wall in the bottom lane, the big wedge, making it kind of awkward. Can't find a situation to get in with the Arctic Assault. So just going to be there to guarantee that Amazo isn't turning the play back around. But Sushi and Pocus happy with how that trade ended up going.
And because the position of the jungle here, the fact that their Amazo is still here, they probably can't try and respond to this turret, although Levitate is quite low. He has to be careful.
Yeah, probably don't want to go for the dive here. They see Amazo now, and that means they are not going to go for it. So just a difficult life for Levitate and Snow underneath their tower, as both junglers do show. Ooh, Decoy missing the ult Q there. Not going to be punished too heavily.
Levitate and Snow are staying here. They really are playing on an knife's edge with how low their health bars are. They're playing on Amazo. The fact that Amazo is here, that's what they are trying to play for, because they know that if Amazo was not close by, they have to back 100%.
Yep. They didn't know about the ward 100%, I don't think. Now they do. Amazo swept it out, and they realized, well, there was probably never going to be a dive play in the first place, because Amazo was on vision the whole dang time. So they clear it out. Amazo can go back to farming, and Snow and Levitate can as well. They end up not losing out on too much as they would have had to if they had played around the dive trying to avoid it. Now going to be regen back to about half HP. It is potentially dragon time here. Both junglers eyeing it, spotting each other by the ping brush.
They really are trying here to fight it out, and this actually benefits Tony Top a bit just because of trading and trying to get your stacks, but it's not going to turn into match after that, and quite early game, really, even though there's been so much fighting and trying to...
Fight breaking out. Going to be a trade back and forth. Mom came out across, but not going to be enough to stop Decoy. Tony just going to continue to take these aggressive trades, though, using the Achu. They buffed that base damage, so going to chunk a fair bit. Pocus falling low as well as Levitate gets the full combo. He's out of mana, though, and Snow doesn't have too much to speak of either, so the fight should stop right there. Sudsy wants to take this trade up against his ult, has the health bar advantage, also has access to that clockwork windup. Yeah, this is an unadvisable trade from Zolt. He's at risk of getting solo killed here. Has to try to shovel Sudsy away, but he's right on top of the ball and nearly falls down. Sudsy going to at least force the recall out.
Scorched it right there. If he had Scorched, that was 100% a kill. But in reality, Satsi playing that off as well as he could, forcing onto the Azir by himself, trying to make Salt be as worthy as possible, and with no flashes, has to end up using the ultimate to escape. That was really close, but well played on both sides to not end up dying in Salt's as the Salt and not getting the kill or trying to get the kill as Satsi. In the meanwhile, though, Bel'Veth gets a bit of stacking going, gets quite a lot of value, and everyone finally able to back really well in their favor.
And the first 3 grubs going over to Amazo. This is going to be especially important for the Bel'Veth. Something to note about 2024 Bel'Veth. A, you get the true form off of the grubbies. So able to unlock that a little bit earlier than you were previously when you had to wait for Rift Herald spawn. But on top of that, if you get all 6 grubbies and you are in the true form, the dying Void Mites can turn into the Remora for the Bel'Veths. So they are absolutely nuts. You can get into situations where you get like 20 of those little dudes just rushing at them and making these pushes so much more powerful.
I wish this was like in other games where you could actually control the Voidlings and you can actually make plays happen as Pokers. That's a lot of damage.
Falling very low. Great ultimate from Hyph. Going to get the disengage, and Sushi comes through with the True Shot Barrage, keeping Levitate's HP bar low. Going to get Pocus out to safety, and we come away with yet another quiet early game here, TDS. Not too big of a lead to be found in either direction, and nobody going down for first blood, it looks like, in the first 20 seconds. Or the first 10 minutes. Tony's just throwing these ultimates out, man. He just wants to trade as aggressively as he can with Decoy. Decoy feeling pretty good about these trades, though.
Maybe it's actually for wave clear. Maybe Tony just wants to throw in for the wave clear, and that way he doesn't get forced into the turret. But like, it's been 2 times already where we haven't seen the actual value out of it.
It has been. Still continues to be a kill list though.
Yep.
Mazo going to be able to secure this dragon. Hype. Blast gun's over. Arctic Assault's back. Oh, Amazo, though, sees an opportunity. Going to try to chase him down. Hype has to flash, but Amazo can get over these walls. Oh, the shockwave is short, but Hype may not out of the woods yet. They're going to throw down the depth charge to make sure that he's going to be able to escape now, hooking back in onto Amazo. They think that he's gone in too far, and they're going to try to punish. He doesn't have those dashes available, and first blood goes to Sushi on the Ezreal.
That has to be so sad for Amazo. The idea was good, but the shockwave missing, it gives pretty much the difference. Oh, Sushi, no.
Oh, Sushi under big threat here. Levitate nearly taking him down with the double shots. Not going to be able to find him this time, but as long as he's able to keep his wits about him, he can be plenty safe on that Ezreal. Both summoners down, but the life kept intact.
Exactly, able to at the very least keep yourself safe there, not going to end up dying, and it's going to work out for them at the very least with the Sushi not having to blow that many things. But you still have to think about the play that happened earlier. The fact that they were able to collect 1 kill for Sushi, it's a much better early game start for them, because last game at this moment Levitate had like 3 kills. This time around Sushi has 1, so it's a much better start.
Much better start for sure here. That is going to be a plate fallen on down. Hawkus continuing to keep up the defense here while he waits for Sushi to return. Levitate going to try to farm up a second one of these if he can get to it in time. Might be kind of tough though. Sushi very close to being able to arrive back up there. And Malignant's done on Decoy, giving him that extra bit of trading power in this top lane.
Going to be really good to just consistently throw spell after spell after spell and try and bother Tony Top as much as possible. Satsi though has been pretty much carrying the back of the early game with the difference in terms of CS, and then even though Amazo did die, it's quite ahead of the Sejuani as well, as they are waiting for a play to happen here.
Definitely. Hyph waiting over the wall. Maybe he wants to make a play.
There it is.
Let's see. There's going to be the shift back in. Lands an Arctic Assault. Now looking to take the play. There's going to be the shockwave back out of the team. The stun comes on across. And the heal is absolutely massive from Snow. Keeps Sudsy alive. The turnaround here. Snow bails out his mid laner and gets a kill over for the team.
Snow played that off so well. Extra heal, the bubble into the ultimate, everything working out to be able to kill the Sejuani in that position. You gotta love how some of the supports are playing, or how Snow is playing so far, because in the previous game he also was super aggressive with the hooks, but it was working out so well. And now with the roam, ends up netting them a bit of a lead once again with that kill.
Sure. Setting up now around those grubs. Shot Barrage will connect. Decoy and Zalt moving over to try to secure them. Again, you want to deny these away from Team Fish Taco in whatever way you can. First one going to be grabbed over. Pocus is fully caught though. Pocus falling lower and lower, will go down to Sudsy, and they might still get the 5 Void grubs. They are able to move over to them now, and at a numbers disadvantage, I don't think you're comfortable coming back in here to challenge.
Yeah, they cannot. Even though there's no ultimate on Satsi, Tony Top is still closer and being able to throw in some poke. Amazo does have the, or did have the reset in that place where he could try and go for the Velvet level or form there. And then you have Snow being able to provide extra support. There was no way that they could try and contest it. And the Lavender stacks actually being really good for the Velvet so far this game. And Tony Top actually trading really well as well.
Yeah, you don't get the full 6, but you get 5, and you'll call that a victory for sure. Still an opportunity to create more Remora than you would have had otherwise. Pay attention to that Rift Herald when it comes up, but Pocus making a move towards Sudsy now. Sudsy, no flash, no shockwave, no nothing. He's going to fall down one way or the other. Pocus gets the kill, though. I'm sure Zalt wish he had gotten that.
100%. You want to get that sort of trade kill again, Tony?
Tony, I mean, he's just throwing out the ultimate at will, and you know what? Every time these extended trades happen and Tony doesn't get forced out of lane, he's just getting dragon stacks. I think this is how you're supposed to play the matchup. And now Amazo coming on up to try to punish. Decoy getting a little too big for his britches, trying to harass Tony Top under turret. He'll get taken down, and Amazo gets his first of the game.
Yeah, there was no flash on decoy, so that means that you can actually force him to the play. Tony doesn't die. He actually collects. Look at all those voidlings. They're actually really huge value. And Belvet now even gets the Herald. It's just working out so well for Amazo. In the bot lane, though, Levitate has to blow the flash. So at the very least, there is a bit of a response in favor of the side of BlackRock. But Taco is really running this early game off of that Belvet.
Yeah, and I'm so excited that we get to see the 5 Void Grub, Rift Herald crash, True Form, Belveth turret crash. This is going to be absolutely nuts. You're going to get a whole school of fish here, everybody. Get excited. Oh, there's an engage from Focus, though, trying to make an aggressive play on towards Levitate. Sushi taking a ton of damage, but Hype going to come in trying to make it unfair. There's going to be calling opened up on a Sushi. Levitate reads where he is and melts him down in the 2 versus 3, making it even. And so going to flash out to safety to keep it that way.
Exactly, respecting the hook there, but still 1-for-1 in that situation where even Salt was coming down there. That's a huge victory on the side of TFT, and Levitate getting another kill is super useful as Snow is close by, Suts is close by, and even Amazo is reaching down there. Can they reach before the dragon is taken? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, there's going to be some trading coming in there from Sudsy, using the ball to harass them low, but the dragon will be secured. The mountains rise as we are going to a Mountain Soul and a Mountain Rift for the remainder of the game. See how they are going to be able to keep that stacking going. No risk of a soul anytime in the near future, as we are both behind pace on the Dragon takes and 1-1 in the scoreline. So Team Fish Taco, for them, it's been all about the Rift objectives. They've done a good job of securing them. Nearly all of them. 1 grub lost. That's it so far. Jeez, every time we look up here. Thank God that that sound effect is not super loud and spectate anymore.
I'm honestly loving the fact that every time we pan up there, we see the ultimate. It's on cooldown. As soon as the cooldown is up, Tony Top sends the ultimate down. I don't know why, I don't know how, but he does it. And I respect that so much. As Decoy wants to follow here.
I'm gonna be honest, this is just emphasizing how low Smolder ultimate cooldown is, as Decoy's about to get 3-man. The crash coming on in above and below. Amazo gets himself another one. Gonna reset for those Lavender stacks, and this might be the Rift Herald angle. Here it comes. Engage found at the bottom side. Pocus harassed, but not taken down. Now let's look at these. Let's look at how many we're gonna end up with. Okay, big crash in, huge amount of Void Mites, and now they're gonna die as they approach the turret. And they are going to all turn into Remora here. At least a fair chunk of them are. And here comes another crash as well. This school's just going to keep getting bigger.
Yeah, they're just going to keep on pummeling on the turret. They actually just...
Mazo's not there anymore, so they're not transforming. Sad.
That being said, they took quite a bit of the health bar on the turret, so it doesn't really matter that they end up dying. They find the value that you were looking for. And Satsi looking for Pocus. No flash here.
Ooh, hook on in. Pocus kind of just trying to use Sudsy as an escape route, but there's no escape from this one. Snow actually gets the kill off the ebb and flow. And supports, you know, they're grabbing a couple of gold for themselves this game. 2 kills over to Snow, 1 kill over to Pocus.
Oh no, Sushi.
Woo. Sushi maybe a little bit caught on out here. Going to try to blink out to safety. Flashes the above and below, and he's home free.
Good flash there, but really nice by Amazo to find Sushi lying there without really a worry in the world and able to blow the flash on the S-roll. Teleport coming through from Salt. That's an aggressive teleport to try and protect the turret in a position that I don't think it's actually worth it. There's no objective here that you want to try and protect this turret for, really.
No, not at all. So just going to use that to show on up, share a couple of CS with your boy Sushi, and return over to mid lane. Well, not getting too much value there. Maybe anticipating that a dive was about to break out, but it does not occur. Now we get a little bit of a break in the action here. A solid gold lead, 3,500 coming on through for Team Fish Taco. Hook found by Pocus. Do they think they can pick Amazo here? He's pretty tanky, and he's just going to slip and slide his way right out of there.
He just runs away from there. Same thing for Salt. He was actually almost getting picked up, but he able to escape, not taking that much damage there. Snow is just so aggressive with his wait. Salt.
Gold trade coming in on the Salt. He might be the tankier Azir build, but he's not tanky yet. Nearly melting down the Ignite, taking down from Levitate, almost finishing the job, but not quite there. It's going to be up to Decoy now to defend this mid turret.
So looking at positives, and the thing that I feel like for BlackRock is really important is that you were mentioning the soul not being close by in quite a bit of time, but actually the Mountain Soul is one of the better ones for them because there's no tank on the side of TFT. That means that the value of the soul is not going to be as big for them compared to the value of the soul for the side of BlackRock, as we see the stacks on the Asir there. So overall, I feel like if they are able to find that soul, it's going to be really big as Snow.
Ooh, connecting onto Snow there. Nice play by Hype. Gonna give that shutdown gold over to Sushi. And remember, this Ezreal, I mean, this is a dream Ezreal composition to play into. You're going to outrange these carries. You're going to be able to keep yourself safe really effectively. Cool to get that extra kill, to be able to get yourself onto your item spikes, and to be able to be the carry force that BlackRock needs Sushi to be right now.
I feel like the only one you probably don't outrange is the Smolder, 158 stacks, so doing a really good job there, Tony Top at this point in the game. But like you're mentioning, the Ezreal comp feels like one of the best spots to be in with the range advantage that you have, and as long as you're able to make the damage be useful as possible, it's going to be really good for you.
All right. Resetting around mid lane now. The next
Sudsy.
Dragon going to be up in 10 seconds. They're going to try to make a play onto Sudsy. Depth charge going to connect. Hook coming out across as well. Decoy there to follow it up. Has the Malignants for the damage. And I don't think Sudsy's getting out of here. He's going to use the Shockwave to try to buy some time. Amazo's looking to clean things up, though. Decoy just barely stays alive, but now he is stuck between a rock and a hard place. And Amazo is going to be the death of him. Getting another kill to make it a 1-for-1 trade as Pocus is falling low due to the mom damage. Dodge away from that bubble will keep Zolt safe. It's a 4 versus 4, but Pocus is so low, and control over the Dragon will go to Amazo and Co.
Yeah, there's so many low health bars, so at the very least the Pocus health bar is really low, and the poke here from Tony Top is going to end up mattering, but they are trying to move here. Sushi counter poking as well, and Salt ready to go in.
Ooh, Hype gets the steal, coming up with it. 2-1 in the Dragon count. He will likely lose his life, but Zolt is keeping the fight going to shuffle them back into the pit. Health bars are low, but follow-up damage is non-existent as a teleport is coming in from Sudsy to try to make this fight unfair. Sushi has to blink himself back over the wall. Teleport coming back on in from Decoy on the other side to try to make it a full-on 5-on-5. Decoy arrives and starts to throw over the Qs. Not connecting on the first one, though, as Levitate takes the re-engage, forcing his way out of Decoy, taking him to half HP. A Chew letting real dangerous as they are going to keep all the health bars low across the board. Nobody going to end up falling, but it's a tower going over to Team Fish Taco.
Levitate going as aggressive as possible there and ends up biting the dots because of that sort of aggression, and really well played there by the side of BlackRock. Collecting the Dragon and then the disengage was really well executed. Nobody dies for them, and getting an important advantage in that Dragon. Once again, the stacks are going to matter the longer the game goes, or the armor and the stacks on the Dragon is going to matter, because there's tanks in the side of BlackRock. There's none in the side of TFT.
None to be found. 22 minutes into the game. The gold lead has shrunk. It was 3.5K earlier. It's only 3K now. And getting that Dragon for themselves is going to feel really good for BlackRock. Really gives you a ton of scaling time to not be quite as worried about the potential of a soul. You could see a little bit of what the game plan is in that last fight. Able to keep them stuck in the pit, able to get everybody low. And then the threat of the damage from Zolt and Sushi and Decoy making a big difference there, but just not quite at the thresholds yet. They couldn't finish the job.
Exactly, it's not yet enough in the spot where you're kind of hoping for with some of these champions, but it's close to working out, as we're actually seeing the Smolder build being one of the ones that were mentioned pretty much on the internet all around, with Shojin into the... I almost forget the name of the item because it was kind of forgotten until a while. Not Leandris, the other one.
Riftmaker?
Yeah. No, look at the one that Seer has. That one. Riftmaker, yep, that one. It was forgotten, so I kind of forgot about it as well, but now it's actually part of the build of the Smolder in some occasions, so I think they're going to opt into it, or it could be the Realize as well. It's one of the two, but it actually works really well for the poke.
Yeah, definitely could be either the two. Those are the only two items that Mask builds into now, so... yeah, if you're gonna go for one or the other. It'll either be the Leandries or the Riftmaker. Both going to be worn by Zolt here, and that just really favors you in these extended fights. Both of them amp up your damage by a percentage the longer you're in combat. The Leandries gives you the burn, which extends the duration you're in combat. Riftmaker, once you get all of the stacks up, it gives you a whole bunch of spell vamp. And all in all, it's just going to help keep Zalt alive for much longer. But he is facing off against a 4 damage dealer composition. So the question is, can you stay alive for long enough to make those items count?
And this is where Sushi does end up coming through, right? The fact that Sushi's opting into the poking build. Oh, Snow.
Down by Hype. They're going to focus on to Snow. Snow's going to be able to flash out to safety. Namazo finds a hell of a fight there. Zalt melts so fast. No chance to use those items in this fight. And I think that was just the wrong target.
Agree, but that was beautifully played by the side of TFT because they are able to focus on the Asir and find him in an awful spot, able to lock him down thanks to Snow, and it just works out so well. As they were moving for the Baron, they are trying to poke around, but I don't think they have much opportunity to contest here. It's all in the poke that Sushi has, and I'm not sure if it's going to be able to get it as effectively.
Yeah, Hype leading the charge here. They're not going to have access to Zalt. Zalt didn't even get to ultimate, but the poke damage here is significant. Sushi going to get hit by that attack and dissonance combo, but will be able to get out. And you know what? The threat of the poke is kind of enough on its own. I mean, Decoy firing out ulti Qs. He has got access to that completed Horizon focus plus the Malignance. Ooh, Tony just barely flashing out. Not flashing, flapping rather, to get away from that hook. And it will keep him safe.
And because of the fact that the poke ends up being such a big factor, they are able to force them out of being close to the mid lane turret. Tier 1 now falls, and that means that they have a bit more control inside of the jungle from TFT. That being said, it's the only turret that they've taken, so there's actually quite a lot of standing gold that's still available in the map if they are able to get it.
Definitely. They are going to now be standing off around Dragon number 4. Already 2-1 in the count for BlackRock. So they aren't desperate about preventing Soul, but they definitely would like it themselves. I mean, they're facing 2 infinite scaling champions in Smolder and Bel'Veth. You aren't too happy giving them late game objectives over and over and over again while not building up your own lead. So it will be a standoff in mid as both try to clear the wave.
Could be actually Dragon for Baron. They are getting the push here. They know that they don't have access to the Dragon, so they could try and go into the Baron pit and try and force a teleport by the Karma. Maybe they rush this as fast as they can. Bel'Veth is close to taking it, so it should be actually a kind of an interesting contest.
I don't think they have time, though. The DPS from the Ezreal, it's just not too substantial. And Amazo was soloing out the Dragon for so long. He's going to be able to get here in time. They have to give up on the Baron. Going for an engagement of Levitate. He relentless pursues his way out. Pockets doesn't connect with the hook. And now Tidal Wave going to lead the re-engage. Shockwave back into the team. As Pokas and Hype are melting. Tony going to be able to pick up the first kill of the fight. And Zalt shovels them back in. Levitate falling low as he will be taken down. Tony goes down as well. And it's already a winning fight for BlackRock. Amazo going to try to turn it around with the above and below. He bounced down. Now focusing on towards Decoy, but Salt on the backside gets himself a third. Shuffles back away, giving him whiplash as he turns it back to front, but will get taken down. Amazo finds him with Sudsy's help. It's a 3-for-3 fight.
The 280 carries may be falling down, but the actual carry is Amazo in the form of our giant Empress, Void Empress. That being said, that is such a good team fight coming in by TFT with Amazo being the hyper carry. And I gotta give credit to BlackRock. They played that off as best as they could. They find the 2 carries. They are able to force them into a really weird spot where Sudsy has to even force the flash really early on, but they cannot focus Amazo right. And he just finds the backline. Sushi dies so quickly, and the rest is just following how Amazo can clean it up. But huge props to BlackRock. This is such a contested game. It's actually, even though the gold lead is in favor of Taco, it's not as clear cut as it looks like.
Really not that clear. Going to be very, very close. And you saw that was a great fight out of Zalt. He finds a good shuffle. He turns things back around, going to be pressuring on the backside while Amazo is dealing with the rest of the team. Amazo popped the hell off there is the only reason that fight wasn't a total wipe for BlackRock, getting a 3-man above and below and setting up for himself to be able to clean up quite a few for himself. That was a very close fight, and if they're able to find similar ones like it, BlackRock have some play here. They're going to spot Amazo. They get some poke damage onto it, but he's going to be able to snake his way out.
Able to run away. They do have a bit of vision, so they know that if the Baron gets started, they can contest immediately. The Smolder is pushing down there in the bot side, so there's a bit of a chance that they can actually play around this. The game is just in a constant state of seeing who makes the bigger mistake, because both teams are trying to play around really well with the idea that somebody can just completely make the mistake that loses you the game. As I think there's probably a pause that we'll get in a bit.
Very likely. Going to be a little bit of downtime here. Worth calling out the Randuin's Omen completed for Zalt here. When he goes in for those big shuffle engages, he's going to have a little bit more survivability. We'll be able to tank up Levitate and Amazo, even Tony for a little bit of extra time. That might end up making all the differences. Ooh. Decoy taking a big chunk of damage there. You can see Tony well past the 225 stack mark, getting that percentage health damage, and that is something that is going to continue to be a big risk for the entirety of the remainder of the game.
Well, that's a big part of the difference, man. Oh, Decoy getting collapsed on here.
Fight breaking on out. They're going to focus on towards him. And yeah, Amazo just going to be able to clean it up. Solo Bolo. The Belveth so strong at this point in the game. Decoy getting caught way out of position. They're going to try to take an engage on the other side. Levitate dodges out from the Glacial Prison once again. And there's just no response available here as Amazo collapsing up from the bottom.
But that was such a close dodge. He actually dashed in a straight line, but the range was just enough to be able to escape there. Could have been a really, really worrying trade if it actually ends up happening, but really good escape there as we see the Lavender stacks. So big for the Belbeth, and the teleport coming through. They want to try and rush these, it seems. Oh.
All right,
Tony's dead.
back. Fight breaking out once again. It's going to be Hype melted down first. Tony manages to stay alive. They're not able to finish the job. Shuffle connects out of nobody. Zalt can't find the targets that he needs. And Tony is plenty safe to get himself a second. Levitate dropping lower and lower, but will be able to survive at the end of the day. And that is a disastrous fight for BlackRock. Team Fish Taco are going to claim the Baron buff with ease.
That should be the Baron buff. It's only the poke from the Ezreal and the Karma, but there's no smite to contest, and Masu is so strong as well, and they're not going to even try there. The team fight, it looked like they were able to collapse on Tony Top. He had no flash either, so the idea was the right one, but the execution is not enough there to get the kill. The damage lacking by just a tiny bit, and at the end able to make the trade happen. But that could have gone either way, because Masu, yes, he gets the reason and able to get the kill, but Tony Top almost died. Levitate almost died, and Sotsu was in no man's land. It's really all on this Belbeth that the game is going so well for Taco.
Yeah, and they are now so far ahead in gold. They've got themselves an 8k gold lead. BlackRock needed to be winning these fights, and they are not winning them anymore. Look at Amazo. He's done this once before, and now even more powerful, taking Decoy off the rift. And going to set up for a dragon play, going over to Team Fish Taco. I don't think BlackRock have any play here.
Well, there's no smite over here, though. So if Hype gets in the pit, he actually could steal it. Yeah, but Beth is still alone in the top lane.
Yeah, is definitely not going to have access to the smite if they don't get Amazo back over here. And the Remora, they're just working on the turret. These things are so annoying, man. They are just ripping through objectives. Amazo on split push duty for himself now. Going to be able to clean that one up. And BlackRock, they have to send all 4 members to mid trying to play defense. Bringing over Pocus and Hype. They're going all in onto Amazo. They know who the primary target is. Are they going to be able to make it happen, though? Can't even land the first slow. Amazo willing to take on all comers. It's a 1 versus 3 fight for him, so he's got to skirt out to safety. And meanwhile, Tony is still split pushing. The remaining 3 are in mid lane. Dodge away from Zalt on the shockwave. Will keep him safe for now, but the pressure is mounting across the map for BlackRock.
Yeah, ends up being the pressure so high for the side of BlackRock. They cannot stop the pushing power from Amazo, but they can also not go into any lane. Decoy takes so much damage now. We're beginning to see the stacking power, the burn coming in from Tony Top. And even though the game hasn't been really the highlight reel for the Smolder up there in the top lane, it's finding value slowly but surely as Amazo just keeps pushing.
Amazo does not need to stop. He's got his full school with him. Focus going to try to make play, throwing down the depth charge, flash away, going to get hooked either way. Here come the remaining members trying to collapse, not going to be able to do it. The inhibitor going to fall in mid lane, Tony taking it in bottom lane, and all across the map. BlackRock Esports, their base is crumbling around them. They're making their last stand here. Flash away from Mom. Shockwave doesn't connect. The best shot they've got is right now. Levitate shuffled back into the team. Going to be the first one to fall. Sushi's still at full HP. Trying to rain the damage onto Tony. But Tony is just breathing all over him and getting him closer to the execute threshold. Taken down by Sushi here as he fights it back away. But Amazo's the final boss. And they have no damage to take him out. 4 members down for BlackRock. Team Big Taco are going to close out the 2-0.
And they close it out with a really strong performance coming in from the jungler of TFT Amazo, showcasing why Belveth is called the Empress. That's an actual game where I can see why Belveth is called the Empress. But that was such a good game by Amazo. At the end, we saw a bit of the value from the Smolder top lane, but in general, it feels like the series tonight showcasing really great strengths in general from the TFT roster. First game, more of the bot lane and the mid lane. This game, more of the jungler and the top lane. In general, Snow 2, I think, has been one of the most consistent players. And overall, TFT trying to showcase that they are a team that you should be scared of.
Absolutely here. I mean, Team Fish Taco looking closer and closer to their classic NACL qualifying form day by day as they come up with a huge classic Belveth game from Amazo there. They play through Levitate and Snow super effectively in game number 1, and they are a massive threat coming in from any lane on the map on any given day. They don't even need to go back to their former namesake, Tony, as he gets to scale up on the Smolder, gets ignored completely in game number 1, and the rest of the team, they're there to back him up.
Well, the thing is, that was the name of the game in the game 1 as well, right? Top lane was an island, so they didn't interact that much anyway. And in the second game, it actually picks up because you're playing Smolder, so yeah, a victory in my eyes when you put it like that. And then in general, the fact that Tonita was so consistent to play off of other lanes is really good to see. Because in the first game, like we mentioned, it was Levitate's game. It was the Levitate showed, and then Satsi having great plays here and there. The second one, Amazo, putting on the carry pants, blind Belbeth as well, and able to deliver such a great performance. And that's something important to have in your back pocket when facing future opponents that technically would be more difficult, and then when looking at the Fearless draft, right? Because this is something always we have to bring up. The fact that Fearless draft makes the strategies change consistently. You have to have your pocket picks ready in case your main champions get banned away.
All right. Well, that is about gonna do it here for our segment of the NACL qualifiers for this weekend. We're going to be back in future weekends with more coverage of the NACL qualifiers. But for tonight, you're going to have to take your eyes to another stream to check out another series. Team Fish Taco versus BlackRock is done. We'll probably raid over to the Salt Mine or something like that here as soon as we're done. We're on a 3-minute delayed, so I don't know exactly what streams are still on. We will figure it out. But we will send you guys on over to keep watching that NACL action. Stay tuned to the Aegis channel. We'll be back throughout the week with more Aegis leagues. We'll be back with ACL on Friday night. TDS and I will be there, and we'll be back with the NACL Qs next week. Until then, for myself, TDS, and PVS on Prod, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.